You know, the first time I was able to focus a lens on how much cultural reference was going to mean to me in my work was in a novel called Motherless Brooklyn, when the character began talking about how he believed that Prince's song Kiss was exemplified Tourette syndrome. Kiss. And on another page he found himself wanting to talk about the cartoonist Don Martin, who used to do these brilliant cartoons for Mad Magazine in the 70s. And I hadn't actually made a lot of cultural references in the 4 novels that preceded that one. I actually honestly believed that my job was to exclude references to real-world stuff. And I realized I was taking this immense pleasure in really identifying some of the things that were sources for me. The films that are at the core for me of my influence are almost all very canonical Hollywood films from the 50s and 60s. Hitchcock is tremendously important to me. I was a teenager when they re-released the films that everyone had been talking about but you couldn't see. This is something that's not familiar to us in our culture anymore. You can see whatever you want to see. But things used to have this esoteric distance. You know, you might read about Vertigo for 10 years before you could get a glimpse of it.
I asked you to come up here, Scotty, knowing that you'd quit detective work, but I wondered whether you'd go back on the job as a special...
There's films where Jimmy Stewart has been taken out of his conventionally lovable, charming framework and made into a very tormented character, one who's kind of morally compromised by the way the story unfolds. That meant a tremendous amount to me. It seemed very novelistic, you know, the way Jimmy Stewart basically breaks down in the middle of Vertigo. He can't be a hero anymore. He becomes an obsessive. I think I was completely at the mercy of Vertigo. Everything Hitchcock must have wanted that film to do, it did to me. The first film I remember is Yellow Submarine. And the first television show I remember seeing was the Monkees. What strikes me about that is that both of them are quotations or paraphrases of the Beatles, but they're not the real Beatles. This process fascinates me. And so Yellow Submarine, you know, which is also very charming and, you know. He's a real nowhere man. It stands for me as an emblem of this idea that, you know, before there was the Beatles, there was the idea of the Beatles, the hieroglyph or something of the Beatles.
Our masters! What do these things want, and why are they here?
I just wrote a whole book about John Carpenter's They Live, which I don't think needs any defense.
Wake up! They're all about you, all around you!
I don't really even like the term pop culture, it's culture. You know, I think Carpenter's film, it dabbles in disreputability, right? It's got a wrestler instead of an actor playing the lead role.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick.
There are lots of corny punchlines, you know.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
But the net effect of the film is to totally disrupt, engage and disrupt and entrance you at the deepest levels. That to me is it's art. What I remember is New York art houses. I went there with my parents, you know, first. They took me to see a double feature of Black Narcissus and The Harder They Come. And that was a big night.
This is the story of a high endeavor that tried and tested a woman in the remote background of Asia.
And then the harder they come, the harder they fall.
I gave up my vows. I finished with them up there.
What a transmission. What luck for me to be in a city and in a family where that was part of what could happen. So if I had the chance to program a double feature, it's a very interesting proposition.
Now you understand the conditions, you're parole.
I gotta get along with you or you're gonna send me back to jail.
There's a rare Dustin Hoffman masterpiece of the 70s, Straight Time.
Earn a little bit for you.
My friend, I see that you're going to force me to deal with you.
Straight Time.
Its tone, the kind of realism and the sort of sordid realism of it always reminds me of another favorite film of the 70s. Also, I think undervalued.
Gene Hackman.
It's an Arthur Penn film called Night Moves.
Night Moves.
Well, come on, take a swing at me, Harry, the way Sam Spade would.
In each case, I think that those are, for each of them, the two greatest performances by the two greatest actors of the 70s.
Take off your shirt.
How long gone?
The only Hackman film to rival it is the somewhat better recognized The Conversation.
Harry Cole is an expert. The best there is.
Let me tell you something about Harry Cole. The best, bar none.
You know, I could use that one too. That'd be fun.